how to stop being afraid of getting corrected in Portuguese and then speak Portuguese with confidence. How can you do that? Well, I know that probably you have been learning Portuguese maybe for a couple of months or even 1 year, 2 years. And let me ask you this question. Have you ever been speaking to a Portuguese person and then they correct you and then you just freeze? What happens when Portuguese talks with you, either if it's you that initiates the interaction or them? Maybe you think, I think I said it wrong. Maybe I don't want to keep going. And then you freeze, right? And you start overthinking about how you said it, the word that you said. Maybe you should have said a different word. Maybe you think it was your pronunciation. You think that they are going to laugh. They are going to correct you, and if they do correct you, it's because they are judging you. Do you relate with this? Well, today I'm going to talk about that moment, about the fear of being corrected and how to turn that fear into confidence. And why I'm going to talk about that, because I know this is one of the issues that my students have as a Portuguese teacher. Olá, I'm Sara. Welcome back to my channel here. Be free to join us anytime. I have a lot of videos here for you who are learning Portuguese. My goal is to help you not only learn Portuguese, but to have a life in Portuguese with the Portuguese. The best life that you can have in Portuguese. Alright? So, today we are going to talk about this. I'm doing this video because recently I did a video about the error feedback, and I had so many comments saying that this was a good topic to talk about, that we should talk more about this. So I'm bringing more content about this, about making mistakes and how to deal with them, right? So with no further ado, let's start. The first thing that we need to understand is that the mistake is not the real problem. The real problem isn't the mistake, because mistakes are normal. They are part of the progress in anything that you learn in life. If you are an adult, but even if you are a teenager, you already learned so many things in life, and you know how to learn a new thing. Someone teaches you, someone tells you how it is, and then you try, and then you fail, then you practice, and then you understand how it is, you get used to it, and eventually you get better and better, until if you keep doing it, you will get very good, right? It's like an athlete. Even people that have some kind of talent, for example, in sports, or maybe, for example, basketball. You need to be tall to play basketball. You born this way, you're born tall, you can't change it. Even if you have some kind of skill and talent, to be a professional basketball player, you need to practice a lot. You need to improve, get better. And there's only one way to get better. You need to practice. You need to do more of that thing, of course. But you only get better, and you only get better if you do more of that thing to improve. That means that when you start, you're not going to be very good at it. Of course. You're not going to be very good at it. That's why you need to practice. This applies to anything that we learn in life, including learning languages, learning Portuguese. But it seems that people want some kind of technology, magic pill that they take and they automatically know how to do things, and they do it extremely good or perfectly. It's because people don't want, and when I say people, I say myself, I say people in general, I say you, because most of us, we don't want the process. We want the final result. You don't want to learn Portuguese. what you really want is to be able to communicate with the Portuguese and have a good relationship with your Portuguese friends, with your Portuguese partner, and you want to live your life in Portugal with the Portuguese. But to speak Portuguese, you need to go through the process. And if you want progress, you need to get through the process, and then you will get better. So mistakes are just part of the process, and you're going to make mistakes, okay? And the only way to avoid making mistakes is if you give up on Portuguese. If you don't even try, then what is going to happen? You won't make any mistake. And sometimes people they avoid mistakes. They avoid any kind of situation that they possibly are going to make a mistake, because they associate making mistakes to something negative, to judgment, something painful. But you see, if you avoid making mistakes, you avoid practicing, how are you going to get better at it? You won't. And in the end, you are just experiencing painful experiences, because you don't want to make the mistakes, but you still want to learn, practice, and speak Portuguese, but you don't know how to use these mistakes to improve your Portuguese. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm going to talk about this. So the real problem is not a mistake, because mistakes are good. You learn with the mistakes. The problem is that what really blocks you and prevents you from practicing and speaking Portuguese is the fear of being judged. The fear of being judged. And this means that others' opinions are very important to you. Maybe too much important. You think that they think something negative about you. But remember, you cannot read people's mind. You cannot read their heart. You cannot know what's in their mind and heart if they don't tell you honestly. So you are not living your life. You're not living your life. You are in this situation of harming your language process, and ultimately you're harming your life, because if you are learning Portuguese and you live in Portugal with the Portuguese, then it's going to harm your life. It's not going to be good for your life. So if you are letting your imagination, because this is what you think that other people think, it's not exactly what they think. It's what you think that they think. So sometimes it's just your imagination. It's just in your head. You may tell me, Sara, but I said something and they laugh. Okay, maybe they are mean people. They are not respectful. They are not supportive. And then I ask you, why are you around these people? Or maybe they laugh because it's truly funny and they don't have any negative feeling when they laugh with you, not at you, just because you truly said something funny and maybe they weren't expecting and they find it interesting. It's not because they are judging you or making fun of you. Okay, so it's really something that is more like probably your imagination, and this is preventing you for living your best life in Portuguese, because you are scared. You fear of what other people are going to think about you. You think that they are going to judge you. They think that you that you sound silly, that you sound stupid, dumb, because you're not speaking Portuguese correctly, and you should speak Portuguese correctly all the time. You know what I mean? So this is a vicious cycle, because if you don't speak, then you're not practicing. If you're not practicing, you're not getting good. If you're not getting good, you're not going to achieve fluency in Portuguese. So mistakes are important. And by what I said in these last minutes, you can realize that the problem is not linguistic. The problem is not that Portuguese is hard. The problem is not Portuguese pronunciation. It's not that the Portuguese eat words when they speak fast. It's not the difficult grammar, the endless prepositions, the endless time tense, verb conjugations. This is not the problem. The problem is it's emotional. All right, you think that other people will think bad things about you. They will judge you because you're making a mistake. And that's why you don't speak, you don't practice Portuguese. But again, without practicing, you won't get good at it, just like in anything in life. So keep this in mind. It's not the mistake that is stopping you. It's the shame, the fear. And I don't think that you want to be ruled by fear and shame. You want to be in control of your life. Like you are the one who decides what and how it's going to be. Okay, so acknowledge this and decide, okay, I have this fear, I'm scared, I have this thing, the shame, but I want to live my life, I want to do the things I'm going to do, and I won't let anything stop it. Okay? Making mistakes doesn't mean that you are bad in Portuguese. Not necessarily. It means that you're learning. You're learning Portuguese, you are experimenting, and if you are making mistakes and you are putting yourself in the situation that I just described, okay, I'm learning, I'm not sure exactly how to do this, let's try. You know that probably people are going to laugh at you. All this context, you realize that you need some kind of courage. So, by making mistakes, you are the person who is brave enough to put yourself in this kind of situation, where the situation that you know that will help you improve and be fluent in Portuguese, and you're brave enough to try. Every time we do something new, we learn something new, probably we're gonna sound silly because you're not going to do it right? So the third thing, I think I lost count, but I think it's the second or the third thing, although I thought about many things here, is why fear blocks fluency. So to explain this, I'm telling one of my experiences. When I was in my English classes, when I was a teenager, my teacher wasn't supportive, very impatient, and everyone in class was very good at English. I was the worst student in terms of grades, in terms of performance in class. And I remember there was an exercise, and the exercise was reading a text. Every single student needed to read a part of the text. And when it was my turn, there was a word there. And I was supposed to read women, but I read woman. And I got so nervous. I felt the judgment because it wasn't a support environment, very different from my classes, for example. I'm patient and I let my students take their time to speak, whether it's a normal class, let's say, or a conversation club. Okay, you can speak, you can make any mistakes that you want, but that was not the case when I was studying, and that's why this is so important to me, that I make an environment for my students that they feel comfortable and they know that they can trust me, they can make mistakes, and they know that kindly I will help them. But my teacher, she was very annoyed, and annoyingly she explained, But the whole situation and the way she was saying it, I look at her face, the oh my God, expression on her face. I got so nervous that I couldn't listen anything of what she was saying. So she was explaining, but I was like, oh my God, I made this mistake. Oh my God, they're judging me. She's annoyed. She's upset. I was like this, and I couldn't understand anything of what she was saying. And she was explaining that to me in Portuguese. And I didn't understand just because I was nervous. So that's how being nervous and feeling fear, feeling scared, blocks you. Blocks your fluency, blocks your brain. You cannot think, you can't do anything. And even if you overthink, because sometimes this also happens, you get too alert and like, oh my God, let me think about this sentence. How should I say it? Which words? There are two very similar words that I can use here, but which one? And you overthink every sentence. You start overthink every sentence, and then you start speaking like this, and eventually you stop. Okay? If you are trying to think about every single thing when you speak, you won't speak at all, because there's so many things. The words, the word order, the grammar, the pronunciation, the vocabulary. You also need to pay attention to what surrounds you, because you want to communicate correctly. What you're going to say depends on what the other people is saying, but also the context, the other people, facial expressions, everything. If you are thinking about all of this, you cannot think, you cannot say anything. It's way too much. Okay? So what's the result? Once you have these bad experiences, what happens is that your brain was made to survive. And automatically, the brain, well, in Portuguese, brain is masculine, o cérebro. Your brain, o teu cérebro, will start automatically trying to avoid at all cost this kind of situations. And if you avoid the situations where you have the opportunity to speak and practice, then you don't practice, because you avoid the situations. And if you don't practice, you speak less. You don't practice. If you don't practice, you don't progress. You progress less. And ultimately, even when it's just you and your online course, or just you and your Portuguese textbook, just you studying, probably you will start not wanting to. If you get these bad feelings over and over again for a long period of time, just bad experiences, then you start avoiding Portuguese at all cost. And you start thinking, I don't want to learn Portuguese anymore. I don't want to study. I don't want to hear Portuguese. I don't want to hear Portuguese music. I don't want anything. Because in the end, if you continue in this pattern, Portuguese will mean just negative things to you, negative feelings. And I know that you don't want that. So with the tips, with the advice I'm giving you in this video, use that. Not just watch the video, put this into practice in order to assure that you don't keep experience these bad things, having these bad experiences, and to make sure that you have the results that you want and that you truly deserve. Because you know that English, people speak English in Portugal, a lot of people do, so you can live your life almost with no Portuguese for most things. But for example, most people that come to me and want to learn Portuguese, one of the reasons they want to learn is because they find respectful to learn the language from the country where they live, or they want to live in, and Second, they have Portuguese relatives, Portuguese friends, maybe a Portuguese husband or wife or girlfriend, and they know that to connect deeply with them, they need to speak their language. So, if anything that I say in this video clicks for you, please share in the comments. If I'm missing something, also share in the comments. I will be very glad to hear from you. If you are looking for a safe place to learn and practice Portuguese, you can join one of my classes or conversation clubs. My WhatsApp is below in the description, so feel free to send me a message and share your thoughts, share your situation, share your story with Portuguese, and I will do my best as Portuguese and as a Portuguese teacher and language coach. I will do my best to guide you, to help you in your Portuguese journey. The first thing that we need to actually change the situation is acknowledge it. First, you know that you have this issue, this problem. And once you realize that this is an issue, you see it, you acknowledge it, now you can do something about it. So understanding and knowing that this exists and you are going through this is the first thing that you need to change it. Okay? That's a sentence in Portuguese that is very good. I like it very much, which is aceita que dói menos. Aceita que dói menos. It means accept because it hurt less. It's going to hurt less if you accept it. You acknowledge it and you accept that this is happening in your life. And then you can move on to the next step that will help you change this situation. All right? So reprogram how you see mistakes. Tip number 1. Are you ready? If you have your pen and your notebook, write it because it's very important, and writing with your hand is very helpful for you to change your mindset and to change your beliefs. All right? There's a whole scientific thing behind it, but just write what I'm going to say now. Okay? See mistakes as data, as information, not as personal failures. I know that when we were in school, we were taught differently. Just like, for example, my experience in class, I couldn't read it correctly, and my teacher corrected me, but she was so annoyed that I had this negative experience that I just blocked. I couldn't understand what she was saying because she was so annoyed at me, and didn't understand her explanation, the difference between woman and women, why we should read woman or women. So see the mistakes as data, as information. You don't need to attach any negative feeling to it, okay? And if mistakes are data, so this is important information for you to improve. So someone pointed at you that you mispronounced something. Now you know that you mispronounced. Maybe you didn't know, right? Now that you know, you can work specifically to improve that. So mistakes are good. Mistakes are information. Tip 2. Keep a mistake notebook. Yes, you can write the mistakes. And probably you already noticed some mistakes that you repeatedly do. And words that no matter how many times you heard the translation, you still don't remember the meaning. So there are words that you learn and remember quickly, others take some time, and that's normal. But you can have a book where you write them down and you review your mistakes. And also, when you have this journal where you write about your experience, your practices in Portuguese, then when you have all that written down, and you go to the first page or the first 2, 5, 3 pages, you can see the progress because you wrote it. It's not just something, oh, I think I improved. No, you wrote it. You documented it. Yes, I think that's the word. Documented it. It's there. It's written down. Because after 1 month, our memory is not that good. But in that day, if you wrote how a conversation with a Portuguese went, the mistakes that you did and the things that you did correctly, over time, you have this data, this information, and you can see clearly how much you have improved and the things that you still need to improve. So it's very useful. And tip number 3, ha 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 ha, which is laugh at your mistakes. Humor helps release this emotional tension. Laugh at your mistakes. Maybe your mistake is funny. Maybe your Portuguese friend is laughing at your mistake because you said something funny. Not because he has any kind of negative feeling, and not because he is judging you, but because you said something funny, truly funny. And you can play with language. Of course you can. You can do experiments. You can be like Indiana Jones, and you go to he goes to the jungle. He doesn't know what's going to happen, and then he tries to solve this problem. Experimenting, going in this adventure of learning Portuguese. Okay, and laugh. This is something that you also practice, and you get better. I don't know what kind of personality you have, but you don't need to be too serious at yourself. Maybe you are more like a serious person. Maybe you are more joyful. If you are joyful in everything except this, try to, like the way you are joyful about other things, be joyful about the mistakes that you do. And also practice saying, oh, you're right, yes, I did a mistake, thank you. Something that helped me a lot was I was trying to say something with a friend. Actually, this happened with a friend from South Africa. And I wanted to say something, but I wasn't sure how to say it. And be able to say, oh, Georgina, I want to say this, but I'm not sure. Like, I opened up my heart and I said, I don't know. That felt so good. I felt free. I felt relieved without that pressure of how to say this. I need to say this right. Let me try my best. I have to say this right. I think it's this way. Let me say the sentence. I just said, Georgina, I'm not sure how to say this. I think it's this way. Can you help me? And I felt that doing this just set me free. Also, with American friend, I was talking about schools and private schools, and I wanted to say something, but I wasn't sure. So I asked her, I know that like the director of school in English is the principal, but how about a private school? It's also principal. So I just opened up my heart and I admitted I don't know, and I asked, and then she said, oh yes, it's principal. And I just said thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, now I know how to say it. And then we just continued the conversation. I felt so free, so good, because I knew that I didn't know, and I told them, my English native friends, that I don't know, and they helped me out, and that helped me a lot. So there's also something for you to think about. I hope you liked this live, that this help you. If you don't believe this, I'm going to say, start believing it. Start think about it until it sticks in your mind, in your brain, to change the way you think. And if you change the way you think, then you change the way you do things in a way that you do them in a way that will benefit your goals. You want to be fluent in Portuguese, so you need to change the way you feel about mistakes, and you need to start being okay with making mistakes. So really think about this that I'm going to tell you. You are not the mistakes. Your worth is not attached to your mistakes. You just said something a little bit differently, and now you know how to say it better. So you did a mistake, you were corrected, now you know how to say it better. This is information that will help you improve speaking Portuguese. That's what you want, right? And of course, you can and you should laugh at your mistakes, just like your friend probably laughs sometimes, because the way you pronounce it's funny, it's interesting, it's different, or maybe it's just charming. It's sexy the way you say things, you pronounce in a different way, and your friends maybe will find it cute. You can ask them, what do you think about my pronunciation? Why did you laugh? If you're thinking that they laugh because they're having any kind of negative feeling, because they are judging you, like mocking you, ha 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 ha, look at him, look at her, she looks dumb, she doesn't speak well. Do you think that they're laughing because they're thinking like this? Ask them, why are you laughing? Do you think it's funny? Why? So don't just assume that they are judging you and they have negative feelings. Good communication is also about this. If you think they are being mean, you tell them, you are laughing, I think you are being mean. Explain to me, are you really being mean? So this helps to have an open conversation, not just trying to guess, oh, he did this because he thinks that. Okay? Let me know in the comments if this is clear to you, and if this is something that you can put in practice right away. Okay? Something else that you can also do is to train your courage to be corrected. Once you start learning a language, you will realize that you need to have some characteristics. You need to be good at some things, at certain things that are not really related to the language and to language learning. For example, being courageous. All this that we have been talking about. Fear of making mistakes, you are scared and you fear the judgment. You don't know how people think about you, but you still need to speak. You need to practice because you are learning Portuguese. Or are you going to give up on Portuguese? I believe that's not an option. So if you are in this situation, you need to be brave, courageous, to make the mistakes and be ready for whatever reaction people will have. Again, if you are in a comfortable, not really comfortable, but safe environment, for example, my classes and my conversation clubs, you are in the most safe space to make whatever mistake you need to make. Okay? You speak freely. It's completely okay. If you have a group of friends, they are very supportive, and you have this healthy environment where and when you can make mistakes, then do them. In this kind of environment, it is the best one. You don't need to have that much courage. But for example, when you need to talk to a stranger, for example, you go to a restaurant and you want to order, or you go to the post office, you go to the hospital, you need to talk with people there, people that are working there, they are strangers. You're not going to feel as comfortable with them as with your friends. So you need to be brave, courageous. This is something that you also practice, okay? So create safe environments, safe spaces where you ask people to correct you. And for example, if you have a friend learning a language, let's say you are Russian, and you have a friend, Portuguese friend, learning Russian. Like you are learning Portuguese and your friend is learning Russian. Okay, let's hang out. Let's go to a cafe, and for 30 minutes we are going to speak Russian, and you practice Russian, and for the other 30 minutes I'm going to speak Portuguese and I practice Portuguese. That's an example. And you can let them know, please correct me if I say something weird or something wrong, or maybe it's not wrong but it doesn't sound natural. The way I say it is not the way that a native speaker would say, so correct me. Tell them that you want to be corrected. Tell them how you feel about being corrected, so they will know how to do the correction, how to adapt, how are they going to correct you, okay? Be open about this. Let them know your goals, what you want, your aim. Okay, I think we can say this, your aim, your goals, how you feel about it. And if you struggle with what we have been talking about, if you know, for example, right now you know that if you are afraid of making mistakes, you need to be in a situation where you make the mistakes and you need to overcome this issue. Now that you realize this, you can say this to your friend and let them know what you're struggling with and tell them, for example, João, Maria, I need your help. Okay, ask them and explain what is going to happen, because they cannot read your mind. They just understand what you say. And if your face looks sad, they will know that you're sad. If you look nervous, they will know that you're nervous. But just let them know how things are for you, how you feel, what you think, and what your goals are. All right? So, the next thing is practice your common mistakes out loud. Maybe just you and your mirror or your close friend, but practice your common mistakes out loud. Like don't make the mistake, but maybe write a couple of sentences using that grammar that usually you make the mistake, or using that word that you make the mistake, and you repeat it out loud. Okay? For example, a word that is difficult to pronounce and you mispronounce it. How are you going to do? For example, this is a classic. Cabeleireiro. Cabeleireiro. And I have a specific technique. Let me know if you want to know more about it. A technique to learn how to pronounce this tricky words. But you can do like this. Cabu, lei, rei, rei. Because the issue is in these two syllables. Lei, rei. Cabu, rei. And then ru. Cabu, rei, ru. And you keep practicing out loud, especially if it's about pronunciation, right? Other things as well, because if you want Portuguese to have a conversation, you have to speak out loud, right? Not just in your head. So you practice cabeleireiro. Practice, because if you do this over time, you will eliminate the mispronunciation, and you will stick with the correct pronunciation. And you can also try a 10 mistake challenge. Aim to make 10 mistakes this week during real conversations. Sara, are you telling me to make mistakes? to try to make mistakes. It's not to make the mistake on purpose. Oh, I know how to say this correctly, but I'm going to say this wrong. It's not like this. The more you speak, the more you try to use different grammatical rules, different verbs, different verb conjugations, you will end up making a lot of mistakes. So the point here is, you speak, you put yourself in different situations. Okay, maybe just practice with you and yourself and you, or you and your friend, your close friend. And you practice different situations, different words, because if you are studying and learning, you are absorbing new things, and if they are new, they need to be practiced, and you're not going to practice them perfectly. Okay, so do as I said before. You have a notebook, a place where you note, you write your mistakes, and do this. For example, this one specifically, 10 mistake challenge. Okay, let me write during this week, what kind of mistakes do I do? And once you have them written down, you can do something about it. It's not just something abstract that is just in your head. When you write it, you write it down, it's physically there. It's in the real world. You know what I mean? So, very important, very useful thing that you can do. And to conclude this, well, I could say many things, very maybe inspirational sentences, a lot of things, right? But I would like to say something specifically. After everything that I said here in this video, and I hope I was clear and helpful, please, if I was, let me know in the comments below. I read all the comments and I answered all of them. I could say a lot of things, but I want to say this because I really want you to keep this in mind, which is, being corrected doesn't mean that you failed. Again, being corrected doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you are actually using the language as you should. To succeed, you need to make mistakes, because success is not a linear or a straight line going up. Success in life, not just in terms of learning Portuguese, but in anything, it's like this. Okay, so expect mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Okay, that's part of the journey. Making mistakes and learning from them means that you are succeeding. Mistakes are not equal to failure. Mistakes doesn't mean failure. And you are not a failure. You are a success. The mistakes that you do don't define you as a person. You are a human being, amazing, clever, intelligent, with all these qualities and even more qualities. And you have your own worth just because you are you. You are a human being. For example, think about a baby, a newborn. What usually happens is that the newborn receives so much love from the family and family friends, but the baby didn't do anything to deserve that love, but he still receives it because he's a baby, he's a human being, and it has babies have their value, they're valuable, they're human beings, and they deserve love and attention, everything, not because they did something, just because they exist. And we tend to forget this, but babies and grown-ups are equally human beings with all their differences, but baby is not more human than an adult. So if a baby deserves love and attention and all of this because it's a baby and he didn't do anything, so you, an adult, also deserves. It's not because you are very good at your job Of course, you can be complimented because you do good things, but your mistakes and your success don't define you. You are worth just because you are you without doing anything. Okay? At least that's what I believe. Of course, you can add more value to yourself if you are a better person, if you improve yourself, you do a couple of things. But keep this in mind. We are talking specifically about mistakes. Being corrected doesn't mean that you are a failure. Nothing at all. So, in the comments, actually, I would love to hear from you if this clicked, and how you feel about this topic. For example, how you feel when someone corrects you in Portuguese. Have you ever shut down during a conversation because of it? Did you experience something bad and then you decided, even unconsciously, oh, I'm not going to try to speak Portuguese again, because if this bad experience happened now, maybe if I try to speak Portuguese again, maybe I will experience something equally bad. Let me know in the comments if you ever experience something like this, and if this video helped. I've been talking for so long. If this video helped you, give me a like, subscribe, make sure that you're subscribed, because you will receive more videos like this one. I already have a ton of videos about learning Portuguese, and you can check them out. You'll see here video suggestions so you can watch later. I will put here the other video that I did about the error feedback, because it's truly connected with this video and it complements it very well, and I'm sure that it will help you not just overcome the fear of making mistakes, but using the feedback that you receive from your teacher and from your friends, your Portuguese friends, as something valuable so you can improve your Portuguese. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Tchau, tchau. Fica bem.